Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Sarika Joshi. I am Assistant Professor at AISSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology. This session is based on stress management. Every human on this earth experiences stress as it's become a common denominator in our life, and hence it is very important that we learn to manage this stress. The objectives of today's session are going to be to identify or to list physical, emotional, and behavioral signs of stress, and also to understand some of the stress management techniques. But before we go ahead, let's try and define stress. Yes, for some, it could be just a small, simple thing which can cause stress. However, some people learn to manage the challenges very effectively. As the definition of the stress differs from person to person, we can definitely have a look at some of them. As per the Merriam Webster Dictionary, a stress is a state of mental tension, worry caused due to problems in our life or at workplace. Something that causes strong feelings of worry and anxiety. As I said, worry and anxiety are very common terms and we all go through it. Stress also results from an imbalance between demands and resources. As in this growing world, demands are also increasing, and we as a resource or human as a resource sometimes aren't able to cope with these demands. Ultimately results in some kind of a stress. Stress is also the inability to cope with a perceived something or a real threat to one's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual well being, which results in a number of physiological responses and adaptations. That means it does affect us mentally, physically, and emotionally. Let's further have a look at what do we know as stressors. That means which are these things which let us into this stressful situation. There are two types: internal, which are our feelings, our thoughts, our beliefs, or attitude. Let me add a negative word to it. A negative thought, a simple one, to quote an example, is to going in a dark, or a belief that we have learned and we have lived with, or a negative attitude. Say, for example, I want to catch a flight and I have this thinking or a belief that I may get into a traffic jam, is your internal stressor. Some of us may have experienced an external stressors. The sources could be a loss. It could be a financial loss. It could be a physical loss because of a tragedy or an accident maybe which has happened with either of us or with some close ones, and we have that fear in our mind. Sometimes it could be a change. Everything is changing drastically around us. With your age as students, the demands from the parents are changing, your demands are changing. There is a change in the external environment, and all this may lead to some or the other kind of stress. Once we have identified which are the stressors, it's also good to know what are the signs of stress. As I said in an objective, we are first going to look at the physical signs. The most common is our dil ki dhadkan. As soon as we are under a stressful situation, we have a racing heartbeat. Some of us may also go through a high blood pressure. The second common one is a sweaty hands or a shaky hands. That's because you are trembling with fear, you have certain kind of an anxiety, and that's causing a stress. I remember students when they come for an interview, they have their hands like this. A clenching fist, a typical sign when you are under a stress or you are probably angry, and that automatically, if now also I think of someone, will come as a sign of stress. Headaches and tension is a common sign or a symbol of a physical stress. Some of the people with extreme stress may also, um, go through migraine. Next is a abdominal pain or a stomach ache or an indigestion. It's a very common one, students. You must have noticed. During the exam time, we also call it as an exam fever, wherein some of you either tend to eat too much or don't eat anything and can cause an indigestion or an acidity. Some of the emotional signs of stress. The first one to mention here is the fatigue, tiredness, or demotivation, when you don't feel like doing anything. Or a fear, a very common sign of a fear of common things around us. The current situation of COVID pandemic is a fear that we carry all the time and that we may also get affected with this kind of a virus. An angry person usually goes through a stressful situation and, as you can see earlier mentioned, has this clenching fist which shows anger in him. It's very important to have a control over that. Impatient, a very common scene which is at the traffic signals. When the signal turns green, people are too impatient and they keep on blowing the horn that the other person they want is to jump off the signal. Depression, a very commonly talked about topic, is a depression which leads to people to kind of an addiction or sometimes even take extreme steps and has to be registered on time, and these kind of people should be given some kind of a help immediately. Lack of concentration. Sometimes you're physically present, but mentally your mind is wandering over some thoughts which you are not comfortable with. Also, is a guilt that we carry. Yes, it is accepted that some or the other time we all conduct a thing consciously or unconsciously which we are not supposed to do, and we carry a guilt of that throughout our life. And this leads to stress. Let's see some of the behavioral patterns when you undergo a stress. The most common one is a lack of appetite. You don't feel like eating anything. Contrary, as I said, some of the people who are undergoing stress tend to eat a lot. Lack of sleep. It is very important that we get a good night's sleep of 7 hours, but lack of sleep may further lead to other discomfort and causes stress or irritation throughout the day. Forgetfulness. We tend to forget things and some important things that we were supposed to do. It could be as simple as you may forgetting the keys of your bike or something that's already in the oven. But these typically are the signs that you are not able to concentrate on your task. Some people they take away themselves from the social surrounding. They don't like to mingle with people and try to prefer remain alone in a closed environment. This typically the sign of sometimes adolescent has to be registered on time. Some people try and take too much of caffeine, like having tea or coffee, just to get rid of their stress. Not able to concentrate or getting a headache is another common sign of your stress. This may cause irritation, body ache, or at times you are not able to concentrate at all on a given task. Yes, rightly guess these are mood swings. All of us go through this and all of us at times shows these mood swings. I typically like this because we can relate it very well, and it is very important for us that sometimes our parents wonder why we are behaving like this. We are sometimes happy, we are sometimes sad, or we are sometimes just too excited. But remember, it could be a sign of your stressful situation. Can stress be positive? Yes, most of you may associate the term stress with negativity, but there are times when stress can be positive. We call it as eustress. Some stress which is good and helpful, for example, it may help you in exams when you set up your timetable, have your deadlines in place, do a very good planning for your studies, and meet all your assignments on time. This is a good stress. This stress, however, is a negative stress that affects life in an adverse manner and may lead you in a negative physical or a mental health, sometimes to addiction, and at times to extreme steps that people take. Certain coping strategies. Now that we have understood the signs of stress and the stressors, it's important to know the coping strategies. The first one is be realistic. Set your own limits. And if you have too much on your platter, learn to say no. That's because you are not a superhero, and no one is for that matter. And everyone can't do each and every task with that perfection. You should always do one work at a time. Taking too much or doing too many things at a time and dividing your attention on multitasking may lead you to a failure. Ignore criticism. People all around you will enjoy that. However, you should set your limits and abide by them. It's always better to communicate with people, friends, mentors, guides who are surrounded and share your feelings, your concerns, and sometimes even the small things that makes you happy. If you can communicate well, you are already sharing some of your stress. Other ways to manage stress could be listed down as doing an exercise, following healthy food, being optimistic, ignoring criticism, having a good night's sleep, time management, meditation, enjoying a very small things, having pets, and of course, if all this does not work, you can ask and identify for some counseling or for some therapeutic help. Let's have a look. Exercise could be in any form. It could be a regular exercise that you perform in the morning. I like to start my day with that. Or it could be in yoga. Could be any of the sports that you enjoy, say a cycling, or for that matter, jogging, or even swimming. But my favorite is Zumba. It makes you physically fit. Healthy food, having all nutrients in your diet, helps you to supply the nutrient to your mind and to your body, which helps you fit throughout the day for your activities. Be optimistic. Always think positive. If your thoughts are filled with negative feelings, it will always lead you on that particular way. But if you are positive or if you are surrounded by optimistic people, you will always lead to success. Ignore criticism. There will be 10 people around you which will hardly speak good about you. Always learn to your heart and always identify your strengths and work on your weaknesses. Time management. As earlier mentioned in my previous video, it's more to do with your tasks than to do with your time. Manage your tasks and prioritize them so that you complete them on time. And once you complete your task on time, you will always remain stress free. Having pet. Research has proven that petting or having a pet dog or a pet cat will help you reduce your stress levels drastically. These furry friends will take away your stress all away from you when you come tired from your hectic schedule. Enjoy small little things. It could be just a jogging, talking over to your friend, or maybe celebrating birthdays. But these things are very important. I know a few people who enjoy every bit of smallest of their things in life, and I always see them carrying a smile on their face. Who doesn't want to be stress free? Even you want to, I'm sure. So if you want to do that, take a notepad and or a piece of paper and try and answer some of these following things that I'm going to ask you now. First of all, identify which is the biggest source of stress in your life right now. As I said, every one of us goes through different phases of life and so the stressors could be different. Note them down. Identify whether it's a positive or a negative stress. All the more good if it is a positive stress. What can you do to eliminate this stress from your life? If not eliminate, at least to reduce the stress, you can follow the strategies which we just discussed. Which activities you are good at that you can perform to deal with this stress? You can join a dance class or probably learn some music or get on your hands on some artwork. Minded students, it really helps to reduce a stress to a great level. Identify some of the resources that you can try to deal with your stress. If it is beyond your control, it's always good to take a help of a practitioner or a medical professional. Some of the references that I have used for this presentation have been mentioned here. We have now come to an end of this presentation. It's very well said that give your stress wings and let it fly away by Terry Gilmetz. Yes, it is very important to lead a healthy and happier life. We learn these stress management techniques which will help us break the hold of this stress on your life. I thank you, dear students, for watching over this video and paying attention. To help you with some of more techniques based on stress management, do attempt a quiz which I have mentioned in the YouTube description box. I hope you always will carry a smile on your face and try to remain happy. For now, good day and goodbye. Thank you.